So I'm hanging out here with my friend Imam Ahmed Alamine.
Yes,
Good to
sir.
see Imam. You look a lot better than I do. You're dressed very nicely.
You look way better in the morning, too.
No.
I mean, and we are in really hot weather, so this is just fine.
Yeah, so tell folks where we're at.
I might look good, but I don't feel good.
Because you're hot.
Yes.
Tell them where we're at. Look
But
behind
we
us.
are in Abuja, Nigeria. This is the first time Micah comes to Nigeria. This is not my first time, but it is actually my first time engaging in such a great work that we have been doing here today in the last few days.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just kind of do a little question and answer between you and me. So you are an imam.
Yes.
He is Imam Ahmed Alamine, also known as Sheikh Ahmed Alamine. Maybe we'll ask you the difference between an imam and a sheikh in a minute.
Sure.
He was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, lived in Niger, just north of Nigeria, really not
Yes.
far from here, where we're
Not
at right
too
now.
far. We are
No.
actually neighbors.
And then did some school in Jordan.
Yes.
And has been in the U.S. now for 17
17
years,
years.
2 master's degrees, working on a PhD
Yes.
in gun violence reduction
Yes, sir.
at the Lilly School at Indiana University. He's a
Yes.
very smart man. He's a very smart man.
That's a good compliment. I wish I get to it.
Well, it's a good compliment because it's true. And you know, the one thing about you though is you don't really like sports very much. So I've been trying to introduce you into sports. I took you to your first NBA game
And the first baseball
and
game,
first MLB game. Yep, that's right. And so we need to go to an NFL game sometime. I need to take you
which
to
I have
football.
not yet.
And you live in Indianapolis. You should be going to a
Colts.
Colts game.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I really hope that you will take me to my first football game.
That's what I want to do.
Yes.
So let's do this. I want to ask you some questions. So I'm a Christian. The people who are following me are mostly Christians. So like my friends on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and those sort of things, they're mostly Christians. They're going to have some questions for you
Sure.
about Islam. Most of them have never.
Sure.
And then when I'm done, maybe you can ask me some questions about Christianity
course.
for your folks who are Muslim.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit. We did a video yesterday, but I deleted it. We're going to start over today. And
Sure.
so I'm going to ask some of the same questions.
Sure.
You're Muslim, so you hate Jesus and hate Christians, right?
Absolutely not.
No, well, I thought everybody
we-
said you hate Christians and hate Muslims.
Well, actually, if you think Muslims hate Jesus or Christians, just listen to me.
We don't know Muslims if that's the case, right?
The Quran complimented the Christians by saying, you will find those who are closer in affection to the Muslims, those who said we are Christians.
Okay.
That is because among them there are pastors and priests, and they are not arrogant.
Yeah.
And when the Muslims were being persecuted in Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the messengers told the Muslims to find refuge with a Christian king who used to be the king of Abyssinia. So the first refugee status the Muslims got to be protected from the persecution of the pagans was from a Christian king.
That's
So
interesting.
why in the world should Muslims hate Christian? In fact, actually, as Muslim, my faith is not complete until I believe in Jesus, yes, as a messenger. But I watch a show. I didn't intend to watch it, but my friends was watching it, and I watched it with him. And that show is called Black Jesus.
Oh, interesting.
And to me, that was very disrespectful to Jesus. And my friend who was watching was Christian. And I was like, how would you treat Jesus like this? And I mean, to me, he was an honorable messenger, and he was born miraculously from the Virgin Mary. And we have a whole chapter in the Quran that talks about Mary and the birth of Jesus. So it's kind of disrespectful to make a show about Jesus. So I certainly believe that actually a lot of Muslims respect Jesus more than many Christians.
Okay, so let's talk about Jesus then. You say Muslims love Jesus, Muslims believe in Jesus. I think that's going to be surprising to some Christian friends of mine who've never studied Islam, have just heard things in the media, you know, that sort of thing. But let's talk about, because you do believe some things that are different than Christians when it comes to Jesus.
Of course.
And you believe some things that are the same. So let's start with some things that are similar to what Jesus believed. You believe in the virgin birth.
Yes, of course.
You believe Jesus was born of a virgin. So there was no man involved. God
Absolutely
you
not.
believe God through the
With
Spirit.
the Spirit into Mary, Virgin Mary, through the angel Gabriel.
Through
and
angel
then
Gabriel.
she became pregnant, and then
Okay.
she delivered baby Jesus.
So that's helpful. You believe Jesus did miracles.
Yes, of course.
So talk about some of the miracles.
Actually,
Jesus did.
Jesus' miracles were unique compared to all other prophets. There is no a prophet who brought a dead body to life
Except Jesus.
except Jesus.
In the Quran.
In the Quran.
Yeah.
He cured blind. He cured leprous people. So we believe that miracles typically come from things that people excelled in during that time.
Okay.
So during the time of Jesus, there were a lot of physicians. I'm not sure about that, but that's what the literature tells us. And if God wanted to challenge the people, the Jewish at that time, he should bring something that they're really good at, but the prophet would exceed what they could ever do.
I see.
So because they were physicians, they used to cure people. God brought Jesus and told them, actually, he came with a miracle that you as physicians cannot do. So it doesn't matter how good of a doctor you are, you cannot bring a dead person to life. You could not give sight to someone who's blind.
Right.
So God gave all these miracles to Jesus, and he never gave it to any other prophet.
That's incredible. So let's talk about a little bit about at the end of time, when time ends, and Christians believe that Jesus is coming back for us. Muslims do too, though, right?
Yes, we do.
You believe he's coming back. What is Jesus going to do when he comes back?
Excellent question. Actually, it's not good for Christians.
Uh-oh. Now we're going to talk about the difference between Muslims and Christians.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
And actually, the moral of all this is that we have our differences,
We do.
but we still love one another.
We do.
The message we wanted to send, more than actually what is our theology, is living with our differences and loving one another. And this is, I mean, you're my brother. Seriously. And
We like having a lot of fun together.
Yes, and we've been through a lot together.
We should say, by the way, we met in Rabat, Morocco, a
10 years
decade ago. We've been friends now for 10 years.
Yes.
So we've been, and Imam Alamine came on staff officially
Yes.
at MFNN, our organization, January of this year. So
Yes.
this is not just some random person that we each picked out. No, I mean, we've been friends for
We
a
have
long
been
time.
working together for the last decade almost.
And one of the things, to your point, that we want these conversations, and we'll do more of these, but we want these conversations to help people understand, is that we can be clear on what we believe.
Yes,
Even the points where we disagree. I'll talk a little bit in just a minute about what Christians believe. We can be clear on these points and still have love for one another, compassion for one another. And there are ways that we don't have to sacrifice our faith, but we can work together for our
Exactly, yes.
community.
And I will take bullet for you.
Same.
And our theologies are different. I think only Muslims and Christians are only one who actually believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
As a Christian, as a son of God, Muslims as a prophet of God. But we absolutely both have equal reverence for Jesus. And we are the only one who believe that Jesus will come back.
Yeah.
And we believe that he's going to fight the Messiah, the fake Messiah.
Right, we would call him the Antichrist, right?
Yes, the Antichrist. We call him Dajjal.
Yes,
so
so-
he will come and corrupt on the earth for almost 40, we don't know, 40 years or 40 days. The only person who would be able to actually fight him and defeat him is Jesus. That's when Jesus will come down to the earth.
So you said a minute ago, it's not good for Christians when
It's not
Jesus
good.
comes
The
back.
reason why,
Tell us why.
because we believe as Muslims, Jesus did not die on the cross.
Right.
Because he did not die at all. He was
yeah.
too honorable to be killed. And that's why God, to protect him, to show him that he's different than any other prophet. By the way, we believe John the Baptist was killed. And he was a cousin of Jesus.
We talked about that yesterday.
Yes, Jesus was an honorable man, and he's too honorable to be killed. And his mission is not finished yet. So that's why we believe when he comes back, because he wasn't crucified, he will actually destroy the crosses, and then he will bring justice on the earth. And then for how long, we don't know. And actually, by the way, when he comes back, he will come back as a messenger again. And then he will spread justice, peace on the earth.
So by messenger, you mean like prophet, right? He'll come back as a prophet.
A prophet, yes.
Right, so those words would
yes.
be interchangeable for you.
Oh, for us, thank you for mentioning this, yes. Actually, not every messenger is a prophet,
Okay.
but not every prophet is a messenger.
Oh, interesting. So what's the difference?
Messenger is someone who God will select and send them with a testament, a book, such as Jesus, Moses, Prophet Abraham. These
So
are
you're talking about like the
these
Jewish
are
scriptures,
messengers.
the New
Yes.
Testament, the Injil to my
These-
Muslim friends,
yes.
and then the Quran.
These are messengers.
Okay.
And among the five, we have, God knows, hundreds of prophets, but we have five messengers
Okay.
whom are the best.
Okay.
And these are Noah. We know that the whole message of God, divine message, the monotheism or Abrahamic faith, quote unquote, started with before Ibrahim, Noah. And then after that, Prophet Abraham, then Moses, Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad. These are the highly revered messengers in Islam.
Okay.
So they are, in addition to being prophets, they are messengers.
Adam is not a prophet then?
Adam is not a prophet.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
Adam is a prophet, I'm sorry,
But not
he's
a messenger. Sorry, okay.
Because we didn't need a messenger at that time.
I see.
Because there is no human being except him and his wife Eve.
So you've talked some about those. I would say, from a Christian perspective, some of the ways that we would disagree. Obviously,
Yes.
we do believe that Jesus was divine.
Yes.
We believe he was born of a virgin.
Yes.
Believe that he was did live a sinless life. But we do believe he died on the cross. We talked
Yes,
a little
you
bit
do.
about this
We
this
did-
week
we did talk about that,
because
yes.
we believe that he had to die to pay the penalty for judgment.
Yes.
Right. So he paid the price for our sins, our transgressions on the cross. And when we respond to him in faith, he trades his righteousness to us, and we trade our unrighteousness to him. That's one of the differences, right,
Yes.
between the two.
Yes.
And then when it comes to all of these differences and sameness, right, both of which are true, are you ever nervous about sharing your faith with me?
Not you. I have actually, I have been involved in a lot of interfaith work prior to multi-faith work.
Yes.
I'm not trying to bash anybody's work.
Sure.
Everybody's doing great in whatever they're doing. But many times I felt like I probably should not be sharing all these details. And actually, in fact, many Muslims go to as far as where they would say, oh, Jesus will come back, he will unite Muslim and Christians. I don't believe in that.
Sure.
We know Jesus is going to come back. But I felt comfortable talking to you about this
Yeah.
without losing our friendship after this conversation. Because we're going back to the U.S. and we'll be together. We have a lot of work to do.
We have to do together. That's right.
So, but being our work showed me, and I have always liked to be authentic.
Yes.
Our work with MFN, and let me tell you, especially with the evangelicals,
Yeah.
because I think both evangelicals and Muslims are conservative.
I think politically,
Yes,
worldview, yes,
we do.
that's right.
We do share a
Exactly
lot of
right.
a lot of views when it comes to the way of life and all these things. But we have very difficult time talking because we don't have bridges.
Yeah.
And what MFNN is doing is actually building these bridges. And in fact, actually, many Muslims will say, "How did you get to talk to evangelicals? They would never talk to anyone." And honestly, I'm very grateful that we have this opportunity, that we're talking to one another, but also being authentic and real with one another.
So let me say a few things, because what you just said is important. And for those folks who are watching this who are friends of mine who are Christians, you just heard him say that he hears from Muslims all the time that they can't believe that evangelicals would talk to them because their experience is that evangelicals don't talk to them.
Even though they felt that they are actually, as principle, they are close to the evangelicals.
Right, so Muslims think, hey, there's some opportunities for us to build a
Yes.
relationship,
Yes.
but the evangelicals
They
don't take any steps. Or if they do, they're angry, or they're aggressive, combative, that sort of thing. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
I'm not angry, I'm not combative. I love you.
Of course.
I love how shocked you are at that
Of course
suggestion.
not.
That makes me feel good. So I'm not those things, but am I clear with you about my faith?
You actually promote your faith.
Okay.
You're proud of your faith.
So I'm an evangelist.
And actually, you wanted to baptize me.
I would love to baptize you. We can find some water.
heck,
There's
actually,
water here.
Bob calls me, what is it called?
The Baptist preacher?
Yeah, Baptist preacher. And
sounds
I feel
sometimes like a
it
Baptist
sounds like
preacher.
it. Even today, when I was telling
You
you
were
guys,
preaching today. Hannah and I were talking about it.
So, and honestly, like I said, the first is authenticity.
Yeah.
Being
real
true
with
to
each
our
other.
faith.
That's right.
And I want you to promote your faith.
Here's the thing. I can speak truthfully about my faith,
Yes.
and I don't have to be mean to you
No, you
about
don't.
it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I said this: a true Christian American is better than not religious American.
Interesting.
Yes.
Because of their moral
The
convictions.
moral conviction.
and-
This is because in every society we need a faith.
Yeah.
Faith is our oxygen. I don't care what faith you follow, because I say this because I work with the police, and I respond to a
We
lot
should
of
say this. He's a chaplain with the Indianapolis Police Department and responds almost daily. Murders,
suicides,
rape, suicides, all of it.
all of this.
Yeah.
And I talk casually to people and actually to officers, and I would tell them, why do we have this issue? Just less than 4 days before we traveled to Ghana, I had to respond to homicides.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this family. The only thing that I almost hear all the time, we need to go back to our faith.
Yeah. Yeah. As an anchor.
Yes, anger, and also, even in suicides.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting mental health. Mental health
Of course,
exists.
sure.
But people who have faith, they are less likely to suicide.
Okay.
And this is not, it's anecdotal, but also the research showed that actually even within the Muslims, they would say, if it wasn't my faith, I would have suicided. So
Yeah.
faith is safety.
It's an anchor point.
It's anchor point.
Yeah.
And so this is why I really wish that the church, the mosque, the synagogue status will be higher in the U.S., where people who have faith, people increase their faith and then start practicing their faith.
Well, there's some interesting data out right now that says that faith is growing among Gen Z, so that's good news.
Great news.
First generation in a while that it's
Great
beginning to grow.
news.
Let's do this, because I don't want to make this a super long video, but one of the things that we want people to see with Multi-Faith Neighbors Network is different than maybe what you've thought of about interfaith or you've experienced with interfaith. One, like Imam Alamine said, sometimes you feel like you can't be honest about your faith. You're afraid that if you open up about that, people are going to say, no, we don't want you here, or shame you, or whatever the case might be. One of the things that we do at Multi-Faith Neighbors Network is we don't try and unite people around a common belief. Yes. We try to unite people around the idea that we all have dignity.
Yes.
And as a Christian, I would say this comes from the image of God. We're made in the image of God. Muslims would say it a little bit differently, but still believe that every person has dignity from their religious conviction. Yes. Jewish community believes the same. And so we can agree on that we all have 100%. Dignity. And that it drives us to be able to be together even when we profoundly disagree with one another. I told you before, I've had a rabbi sit down beside me and say, so, do you think I'm going to hell? Which I don't have time for that right now, but led to a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But my point is, we are trying to help people understand that in multi-faith, they can be honest about their faith.
Yes, sir.
They can be faithful as a Muslim, as a Christian.
Yes.
They can share their faith.
Yes.
They can try and push people. He's tried to get me to say the Shahada before. I try and get him to follow Jesus and be baptized before. And I'll continue to do so.
Yes.
Because I care about you and because I really believe this.
Yep.
I mean, this is not just
yes.
my belief versus your belief. I really believe this. I know you really believe this, convictionally believe this. The other thing I would say is, and this will be the last thing, we have an opportunity, we can choose to either hide in our communities and watch our culture continue to fracture, or we can work together and hold our convictions, be faithful, communicate our convictions, but find ways to work together for the good of our community. And we see it in different ways. We see people standing up for religious freedom in the U.S., one for another. We see people caring for the homeless or unhoused population, caring with police chaplains. In one city, we had clerics get together and speak to inmates that were incarcerated about religious-based violence and how it was inconsistent with their theology. And we had another city where they've planted a garden together, and Muslims, Christians, and Jews all harvest the garden, and they feed a food desert in that city. This is what I want people to see. Multi-faith is a beautiful opportunity for us to be real about our faith. And for my Christian friends, I've never experienced anything in my life that has allowed me to live out my faith openly with people who are not Christians, like multi-faith. And I think this is one of the things that Muslims and Jews maybe don't realize about American evangelicals, is often they're in environments where they're never with anybody who's not like them. So we don't know. You've spent your whole life in the U.S. living out your faith with people who aren't like you.
Actually, I have been able to practice my faith in the U.S. freely, speak freely, way better than anywhere else.
In the Muslim world where you were living?
Including the Muslim world. Literally, I could, I travel a lot through the airports.
Yeah.
I would, pray in the airport next to the gate.
Or in the airplane.
Nothing. Or in the plane.
We sit beside each other on the plane, and I watch you pray on the plane.
I give Friday sermons, and nobody censors my speech. This is the reason why it doesn't matter how difficult the condition is everywhere. I would say we have great opportunities in the U.S. It's really blessing. Sometimes you don't know the blessing of what you have until you lose it.
That's a pretty good sales pitch for religious freedom and for Multi-Faith Neighbors Network. Thanks for watching.